All right. Good morning, guys. Today is Wednesday, August 23rd. And as usual, doing analysis for US 30, gold, and EU. So I'm still holding a small US 30 sell, but this is the entry that I'm waiting for on the, you can see on the 15. Okay, so if we start on the daily, let's first start here. The bias for everything is bearish for me. So right here, you can see on US 30, daily bias is still bearish. Gold daily bias is still bearish. However, you can see we have the buy SAR that was printed yesterday. It was printed on this daily candle. Now, my bias is still bearish, but right, gold is telling you that, hey, and this is the part you should ask yourself. We have 7 hours until this daily candle closes. What's the probability that this candle will close below the daily SAR? So you can see all this heavy buy pressure. So I'm going to hop off on gold for now just a little bit. I'll go over its analysis. EU, let's see, just a second. EU daily still bearish. Now for US 30, we had this zone. So if I go back to the entry timeframes, we have this 4-hour zone. So this 4-hour zone was actually validated yesterday, right? Because this 4-hour double SAR came in yesterday. So this is the candle that broke below, and then this is the candle that continued. Now, the entry came at 5 p.m. again, which is manipulation hours that personally I do not trade between 3 p.m. and 11 p.m. So for this entry, if you go to the down to the 5-minute time frame, you would see, because I mentioned here yesterday during the live session, if you can still enter on impulse, but you can see if you want your stop loss to be above the SARs you're trading, could have just gotten faked out and the trade came back down, right? So in this instance, ideally you want these candles or your entries to be close to the SARs. But in this instance, since the entry came afterwards, what you could have done is come down to the 5-minute time frame or 15-minute time frame. And in this instance, you don't need to extend. I know personally don't extend on the 5-minute. So let's say you're looking for an entry. So your entry has validated on the hourly and on the 4-hour, and you're waiting for that retracement, and then you're looking to enter on the 5-minute or 15-minute. So I just like using the live SAR. So here, what you could have done, this is a 15-minute. 5-minute, and this trade came in at 6:30 this morning, so about 3 hours ago. So this one right here. So you can see all the other live 5 SARs, none of them had 2 candle closures, right? None of them, you had like 1 candle closure, 1 candle closure. This was also during Asian session. So this was during manipulation hours. So after the manipulation hours, because the manipulation hours ended at 11 p.m. yesterday at 22. So actually, yeah, this is one entry you could have made, but for me, I don't want to trade, I was asleep at then. So this was the next best entry right here, because you're looking for 2 candle closures. So I was looking at this live SAR right here, and then you would just wait for 2 candle closures below. So here, if you were to extend this, you have 1, you have 2. So this should have been the entry, that particular entry. So again, I didn't take it. I was just, I woke up like literally 2 hours ago. But this would have been that entry from yesterday. So 50 pips TP, 100 pips. I'm sorry, 50 pips stop loss, 100 pips TP. Could have set break even when you achieved a 1:1, and you can see how you would have gone. But that's how you would have taken that trade. But anyway, right, even for me, I missed that trade as well. So this is the trade I'm currently looking at right here. This double SAR. So we need, actually, it's sort of a triple SAR. So we need 3, I'm sorry, we need 2 15-minute candles to close. So the first candle to close, the first 15-minute candle to close is this one. So we need this candle to close below this zones. And then we need the next candle to also close below. Now, the question, the other thing we need to look at, what entry is this? It is a test and rejection because the sell SARs are above us. So, you can see this is test because it's testing those triple SARs, and we need the next candle to also close below. So I did enter. So you see the trade I just went over with you guys. I entered it late. I actually entered it. So I'm in a sell on US 30 right now, but let me show you guys where I entered it. So the entry was on the 4-hour. I came down to the 1-hour time frame, and my entry, actually price is at my entry right now. So where price is, I'm in a sell right now. So that's just personally, it's not an official trade. So, but personally, I'm in a sell where price currently is, but I'll wait for the 2 15-minute candle closures and I'll probably scale in. That's the safest entry, and that will be the official trade we get. So that will have to be after like what, 20 minutes. That's when we'll get that validation. For gold, now I sent this in the trade idea, right? Possible break and continuation. Actually, it would be, yes, break and continuation if the current 30-minute candle closes below the double SAR. No, if it's a break and continuation, this was the break candle, right? Because this was the double SAR right here. And then this candle that turned out to be heavily bullish should have closed below for this sell to activate. So unfortunately, no selling on gold. So keep in mind, currently daily bias on gold is still bearish. However, I am not looking to take, and I know gold is retesting even like triple or quadruple SARs. The red flag here is this. So you should always ask yourself this. If this daily closes in the next 7 hours, closes above this buy SAR, and sure, I do anticipate some retracement on gold. So similar to here, you see how here for US 30, it closed below the daily SAR and also rejected, retraced before the eventual drop. So even if gold closes above here, we might get some rejection and then eventual push up. Now the question is, what's the probability of that happening? Because you can have what like a similar thing that happened to EU right here, that it closed above this buy SAR zone right here, and then did not have any retracement, pushed all the way back up. So if you're looking to sell gold, you should ask yourself, what's the probability that gold, if you're still in a sell when this daily candle closes and our daily bias changed to bullish, what's the probability that gold will retrace back down? So in the past, right, when gold closed below this daily SAR, sell SAR, it did retrace back up. When it closed above this bullish SAR, it did not retrace back up. So you should always ask yourself, what's the probability? Now, if I have to ask myself that, I am not looking to even trade any sell on gold. So feel free, for you guys, you can enter it, right? You can enter sells if you get
I'm in a
confirmations.
sell just based on the strategy I back tested, but
Mhm.
gold has been trending up slowly but surely. If you're paying attention, it goes up more and more every day and it comes back down. So it's the only reason I'm in a sell because I think it's starting to retrace now actually.
Yeah. So personally, and given that for me, I only trade the 1 hour and 4 hour, like that's where my entries are. For me to even think of trading gold, selling gold, it would have to test and reject here, because this is the zone that has, if you go, this is on the hourly, that's the only zone on the hourly that has double SARs. On the 4 hour, there's nothing. So based off of personally how I trade using the 4 hour and 1 hour, I do not have any entry on gold. Now if you go down to the 30-minute, I've just shown you guys on the 30-minute here, we have triple, I won't count the bottom one, so we have a triple SAR sell. So you would need 2 candles to reject below here. But given the time of day, and given that for me, I'm always looking to trade, you see that? Given that I'm always looking to trade in the direction of bias, I am not entering
Because I was
anything.
being cautious. I stopped out a break even just now on gold.
Yeah, I'm not. I right like if you always follow the bias, and for me, right, I follow the bias and I follow the 4 hour and 1 hour. So there's no, unless now here, you see where we are right now, unless on the hourly time frame. So let me just do the math for you guys. For this, since price is above us, or for this to validate as a sell entry, so you guys saw on the 4 hour time frame, There is nothing. On the 4-hour time frame, I don't have any double SCRs anywhere. Right? The only double SCRs are at 1920. So let's just talk about where price currently is right now. So there can be an entry on the hourly time frame, but for me to have this entry on the hourly time frame, I would need this hourly candle to close below where price currently is. That's number one. And then I would need the next hourly candle to retest this zone and close below. So that would mean that will be 12 p.m. So 12 p.m. So ideally about 1 hour, 15 minutes from now, that's when I would get the entry for the sell on gold. Now, then I go ahead and ask myself, that will be 5 hours before this daily candle closes on gold. So in that instance, right, I've already made a ton of money only selling gold this whole time. So why would I be trying to squeeze in some more money here on gold just for 5 hours or something? So you know what I'll do? I'll just stay out and I'll say I've already made money selling gold, and I'll wait for that daily candle to close. Now, keep in mind, this daily candle can close as a strong bearish candle, in which instance I will continue looking for sales comfortably. But if I start questioning myself, okay, I have both buys and sells, I only have, right, I'm not really looking to squeeze in money for 3 hours. So what that will happen if this daily candle closes above here, right? If I go ahead, I turn off the red lines because I'm done selling, I'm pretty sure you guys will see a lot of double SARs, whether it's on the daily time frame. I'm sorry, so that's the hourly time frame. So hourly time frame, the only double SARs are back down here. So gold possibly can retrace back down to 1895, 1896. Let's see what we have on the 4-hour time frame. So 4-hour time frame, nothing as well. So this might mean, personally for me, this zone has double SARs. So for me, I might have to wait till 1920s to buy gold, and that is perfectly fine for me. So that might just mean this
It's
whole week.
crossing to double buy SARs on 1 hour right now.
Yeah, but for
Very
me,
big distance, but that's a huge stop loss probably.
yeah, for me, I'm not. So ideally here, I'm not trading gold, whether it's today, whether it's, so it doesn't look like for me, I will get any entries on gold. Now, here's the other part right here. You can also use the 4-hour time frame. So if we went, you see how we have the daily, again, I don't want to give you, right, one thing, I don't want you guys to ever have analysis paralysis. So for me, right, we have like 1,000 instruments you can trade with this strategy. So you don't have to stick to one instrument. But here, if you go down to the 4-hour, so here's another way to look at it. Let's say you see yesterday when gold formed, so I'll just replay this. When gold formed, and keep in mind, these SAR zones are formed live, so they're not repainted, they're not, they don't form after the fact. So for example, here, you'll see when that buy SAR was formed right there on this daily candle. Now, on this daily candle, one thing you could have done, what's the next time frame if you wanted to catch those buys, those early buys? What's one thing you could have done? Now, you need to, and again, right, you need to know what is this telling you, which is why I've told, right, I wrote this for you guys. Gold has given us a daily buy SAR area, but it's telling us that if the daily closes above here, our bias will shift to bullish. But also SAR means stop and reversal, that gold can reverse, which I mentioned that you could have sold gold here, but can mean that gold can reverse from here. Now, let's say you had other confluences that pointed you or were showing you high probability of buying L, or high probability of this being the retracement back up for gold. Okay, now if we know that this daily buy SAR has just been formed on the daily, now if you had confluences for a buy, but you wanted to also get a confluence for a sell, for a buy, still from an SAR, what could you also have looked at here? Gone down to the next lower time frame. So keep in mind, this is a daily candle. What's the next lower time frame after a daily candle? It is a 4-hour candle, which means a daily candle has 8 4-hour candles. If I'm not wrong, no, has 6 times 4, 24. Yeah, has 6 4-hour candles. Now, what's the probability that if we go down here to the 4-hour time frame, we will see a confirmation for a buy SAR. Now keep in mind, for me, I just use the daily to find bias, not to tell you guys that you cannot use the 1 hour to find your bias. You cannot use the 30. You can, right? You can use the 30-minute to find your daily bias. You can use the 1 hour, but just keep in mind, the lower the time frame you keep going, the higher the probability of this bias being disrespected. So you want to stick to higher time frames to find your daily bias. Higher time frames, with higher time frames, the bias will be respected more with the SAR. So here, if we went to the 4-hour time frame, what do we see? And keep in mind, you have to backtest this. You just don't want to find something that's aligning to what you're doing. So here on the 4-hour time frame, if you went back, you could have seen, let me just close out the whole replay. So let's even ignore this 4-hour that's validated. Let's just back test, right? So we want to see, we've been selling gold this whole time. How many times, and ideally when I'm back testing, this is what I like doing, right? So that I can settle on what time frame I need to be using more to look for the bias. So on the daily, we back tested and we saw that if we sold when gold closed below our daily SAR, gold was selling. If we bought when gold closed above a buy SAR on the daily, we were buying. So we want the same results here. So let's just ignore this one that just validated. I'll finish that. I'll finish with that. So this whole time we were selling. So is there, prior to this one right here, the most recent one on the 4-hour, prior to that, is there any other time when gold closed above a 4-hour buy SAR? So this was the only time it closed above, but you can see gold kept selling. So this is this is one red flag of probably using the 4-hour, but it's not that bad because it's only one out of, there's this other times it created by SARs, but it didn't close above. So it's just one. So nothing big. We just don't want too many fake outs. Here again, we have another fake out, and this looks like when that daily did close. So not bad, right? You can use the 4-hour comfortably, right? So you can use, for example, the 4-hour in conjunction. Now, of course, we know if we want to buy gold here on the daily by using the daily time frame, you see how far this candle has pushed up from the daily SAR? From the daily buy SAR, it has pushed up like 130. Is it 130? What is it? 13. I'm trying to think this through. 13. 130 pips. Yeah, 130 pips. Now, same thing, same logic we used to do on the reversal indicator. So of course, since this is a daily candle, by the time this daily candle is closing, it's going to be 7 hours. And who knows, right? This daily candle might close all the way here, meaning that gold pushed up all the way from here. So that's why I'm saying if you are done selling gold and you are waiting, so think of this buy SAR as a signal, right? I sent that out in the group, the analysis for gold. So it should be telling you that, hey, it might be wrapping up. It might be time to wrap up selling. So in that instance, you could have gone down to the 4-hour time frame and then waited and then looked for that closure above a 4-hour, right? Because you want to get into the momentum earlier. Now that's just one way of trading. I didn't do this, but just by back testing, if you want to get in earlier, you could have done this. But so hopefully that makes sense. So you can see here, this was the only time gold popped up on the 4-hour, and that was at 1 a.m. this morning. So 1 a.m. this morning, that hourly, I'm sorry, that 4-hour candle. And
I'm glad you showed me that.
yeah, if you backtest here at 1 a.m., what we would want to see here is some double SARs, like for me personally, how I trade, right? So if I go back here at 1 a.m., so even for me, even though I was trading using that 4-hour, just trading using the entries I used to enter price or to identify where to enter, I don't have any double SARs on the hourly in that zone. I don't have any double SARs on the 4-hour on that zone, and these are buy SARs, right? But there are some of you, I know, like Desire, for example, Desire uses the 30-minute and sometimes the 15 minutes. So you can see at around, it was what, the 1 a.m., the 1 a.m. 4-hour candle. So this closed at 4 hours. This closed at 5 a.m. if I'm not wrong. Yeah, because this candle closed began at 5 a.m. So around 5 a.m. Let's see. So if we go back, what we are looking for is double SARs. So keep in mind your entries. You can trade single SARs if you want, but for me, I just have more confidence and more backtesting experience by using double SARs. So at 5 a.m., we want to see double SAR. So here, so we have this double SAR, and this is on the 30-minute. But this came, of course, it didn't come immediately. So you'd have waited for price to come back there because the 5 a.m. candle, this was it right here. And this is on the 30-minute. So you'd have waited for the entry. So this came back down. Actually, you could have gotten a bunch because there are a bunch down here. So this is a double right here. This is a double right here. This is another double right here. So keep in mind, the lower the time frame you go, sure, the more the entries you can get, but also the higher the probability of the strategy being disrespected. But if you've already identified your confluence on the daily, if you've identified your confluence on the 4 hour, then sure, right, you can go to lower time frames and look for entries there. But if you're strictly looking for entries on the 4 hour and 1 hour like I am or like I do, of course, you might not get entries for days and days to come. So, right, it's that balance. So this is the key right here. Still bearish on, so here's the other part, right? I am still bearish on gold, right? And this is what I mean by the higher the time frame you go, the more your the strategy is respected. So I am still bearish on gold. Am I in any sales for gold? No, because on the 4 hour, it's telling me, keep in mind, I only trade double SAR. So on the 4 hour, so personally, this whole time gold is pumping up and I'm still bearish on it. You think I'm losing any money? No, because this whole time I haven't gotten any confirmation for sales. Now on the 4, and I just showed you guys the 1 hour. On the 4 hour, this is the next area I can sell gold. But for me to sell gold here on the 4 hour, this would be test and rejection. So I would need a candle to test this zone and close below a 4 hour candle. And I would need the next 4 hour candle to test and reject. And guess what? If by the time I'm getting this entry, the daily bias would have changed to a buy. You see what I'm, so the higher the time frame you use for your confluence, the better, and you'll be more secure. So as much as I'm bearish on gold, the 4 hour is telling me by the time I give you this sell entry, your daily bias will have changed to a buy. So in any case, this is not even a trade I would be looking to take today, because by the time it's validated, it will be 8 hours from now and the daily candle would have closed. And if it closes there, that will be, of course, a bullish on the daily. So it tells me, okay, your next entry can be on the hourly. So the hourly is telling me I can give you an entry, but for me to give you an entry, where is that? I can give you an entry, but for me to give you an entry, it would have to be in this double SARs that I've already passed. So for me to give you that entry, what would need to happen? What would need to happen is I would have to retrace all the way from 1918 and close below your double SAR at 1913. And then the next hourly candle would also have to, if it still breaks above here, it would still need to close below here for you to, for me to give you that entry. So what's the probability of that happening again, right? You see how gold is so bullish. Not to say that gold cannot all of a sudden turn bearish over the next 2 hours, but looking at probabilities, what's the probability of that happening? So probably near to none. So as much as I'm bearish on gold, has the 4 hour given me any entry? No. Has the 1 hour given me any entry? No. So at that point, I just stay out of the market and then I focus on other things. So there's US 30 here. US 30 on the, does anybody have any questions regarding how I've analyzed gold? Perfect. So you can see, right, just by doing, right, just if it's hard to you to remember, just write that down. Look at the daily bias. Look at the daily bias. Look for double SARs on the 4 hour and 1 hour time frames in the direction of the daily bias. And if you do that, you won't be faced by, if your bias is bullish and price is going bearish, you're probably more times than not, you're not going to be losing any money, because if anything, price will not be tapping into the areas that you have marked up. Okay, now coming to US 30. US 30, we are still bearish on the daily. We don't even have any indication of a bullish SAR, right? Like what we have on gold. Looking at EU, we are bearish. We don't even have any indication of a bullish SAR. Looking at the dollar, the DXY, it is bullish, heavily bullish. So this is one of those instances, right? So keep in mind, as much as gold is correlated to the US dollar, look at what's happening. US dollar for the longest has been pushing up, like the last 5 hours. But EU, yes, has been pushing down. So in correlation, right, so US dollar pushes up, EU goes down. But US dollar is pushing up and gold is also pushing up. So you can see not every time, just because something is tied to the US dollar does not mean that if the dollar goes up, X instrument will go down as well. So just and that's the beauty of the SAR, right? That's the beauty of the SAR. It just marks up, this is my buy zone, this is my sell zone. I don't care what gold is, I'm sorry, I don't care what the US dollar is doing. Now for US 30, let's look at what we have right now. And I think we just had news pass. So I am still in my sell for US 30. Keep in mind, I just entered, since I missed the sell in the morning, I just looked for another entry. So my sell, I'm actually a little bit in drawdown. Again, keep in mind, it's not an official trade. This right here that I'm waiting for, that's the official trade. Now, this one is based off of, actually, it should be this double SAR, because this one is far below. So US 30. So I am bearish on US 30 on the daily time frame. That's all I need to know. Now, on the hourly time frame, on the hourly time frame, the only entry for double SAR is right here, all the way up here. So right, price is so far away from that zone. But if we go down to the 4 hour, we are currently testing a double SAR on the 4 hour, the same one, right? This one from yesterday that eventually gave us an entry at 6:30 a.m. today. But for me, I was already asleep by then. So, but if you're online, your entry could have, I think it was 378 and would have gone straight into TP. But we're still retesting that double SAR. So if you think of it this way, this candle, this 4 hour candle has broken and closed below this double SAR. Now, this is the continuation candle right here. So in theory, if you want again to wait, you can wait for this, how this 4 hour candle will close, because our candles of interest are these two candles right here. So keep in mind, whether it's a buy, whether it's a sell, you're always looking for two candle closures, always two, not one. Because you know, same thing I just showed for gold. On the 30-minute, if you're looking only for one candle closure, you could have been burnt selling gold, because the next 30-minute candle shot all the way up. Now, these are the 4 hour candles. So if you want to be safe, you can wait for this current 4 hour candles that closes in 3 hours to close below this double SAR. And at that point, you enter your sell. But this can happen, right? Because we had the same thing yesterday with these two candle closures, where it can happen, and it happens around the hours we don't trade. So you can see here, if you enter or it can close so far below such that you don't, right, if you are to enter on impulse, you can get manipulated and faked out. Now, the reason for me, I entered this trade that I'm in, again, right, it's not an official trade. The one I'm looking for you for you guys is the official trade. The reason I'm entering, or I'm looking to enter here, is that this zone has already been tested, and we had some rejection. So it was a valid zone, and it had some rejection. So, but if it wasn't, if this was the first time this zone is getting broken and possibly retested, I wouldn't be in a sell on US 30 right now. So the only reason I am looking for this to be a sell, and keep in mind, for this to be an official sell on US 30, this 15-minute candle has to close below this zone, because keep in mind, it's always two 15-minute candles. And actually, wait a minute, I think this was actually this should be the trade, my bad. Give me a second. 9:30. Yes, actually, this was the trade right here, because it was two 15-minute candles, right? I'm sorry, I think I analyzed gold for a long time. Yeah, so you had this candle. Let me highlight this. you had these two candles, right? So the first candle is testing that double SAR, right? So since price was above us, the entry would have been a test and rejection. So the first candle tests the double SAR, sell SAR, and closes below. The next candle tests or test and rejects below. So I call them test and rejection. So first candle tests, the next candle rejects. So actually this should be the trade right here. Let me see. I'll go down to the, I know we just had news at 9:45. So I'll go down to the 5-minute. So for this particular candle, and for this one, I'm not going to extend the lines. I'll just trade the live candle. So for this particular trade, I don't know if anybody had entered earlier, but if you haven't, do not enter it. Wait for the 5-minute SAR. So 5-minute live SAR. So what we need here is a scenario like this. So we need 2 candles to close below a sell SAR on the 5-minute. And at that point, you can enter the sell on US 30. So if you're not in the trade, do not enter. So let's wait for that 5-minute sell SAR. And then that's the point you would sell US 30. So I don't know if anybody entered, you know, this one, because this should be it right here. I don't know if anybody entered it, but if you didn't, because I know I was analyzing gold. If you didn't, let's wait for the entry on the 5-minute. Okay, so going to the next one, EU. So for EU, same thing. EU, the only entry that was there was this one. So if we go down, I think there was a 4-hour entry. So double SARs, yeah. So this is the entry I saw, and some of these entries, they happen after London session. So you know, some of you guys, depending on the time zone, you guys might be asleep. So EU yesterday, it had this double sell SAR on the 4-hour, right? So we had one candle closing below it, right? So that's the break. And then we had the next candle continuation, right? Now, again, remember, you should always ask yourself, first of all, what time did this entry come? This entry came at actually 1 p.m. yesterday. So that was a valid trade. It was during the hours we trade. It was away from the manipulation hours. So if you're doing so, the key here is always make sure your stop loss is above the SARs you're trading. So if you're trading these SARs, your stop loss is above there. So at this point, you had a decision to make, right? So since your stop loss or the double SARs are ideally like 95% of your stop loss range, right? You either decide to take the risk and enter with your full risk that you normally use right here, or you enter with half risk and add or scale in as price retraces, or you wait for that retracement in and around, because remember, your best entry will always be when your entry candle closes next to the SARs you're trading, because that will give you a tight stop loss, thus improving your risk to reward. Now, of course, if you entered here on that confirmation candle, entry candle at 1 p.m. yesterday, right there, at 1 p.m. yesterday, and wanted your stop loss to be above your SARs, that would have been like a 25 pip stop. So for you to have a 1:2, 50 pip TP. So this trade, and keep in mind, once you achieve a 1:1, you set break even. So if you were in this trade would have been at break even currently, if you entered there on impulse. However, if you waited for that retracement, so remember, if you wait for the retracement, you would then need to go down, wait for price to come to your SAR zones in and around there, and then you would wait for the live 5-minute or 15-minute candle to be broken and retested. So that entry was around the 1 a.m. candle. Let's see. So the next time price retrace was around 1 a.m. Right there. And if we go to EU, we are looking for, so this whole time, so your entry could have either been here as price retraced. So this is actually, this is during manipulation hours. So we are looking for entries after 11 p.m. because keep in mind, I don't recommend you guys to trade between 2 p.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern time. So, okay, so this one, we didn't have two candle closures. This particular one, we did have two candle closures right here. So this could have been your trade on EU. So normally, sure, you can survive with that 20 pip stop. If you want a 1:2, 40 pip TP, right? But I recommend having at least a 30 pip stop on FX pairs, but you can get away with 20 or 25. So this could have been the trade you took if you're trading this. So for me, keep in mind, for me, I prefer waiting for the retracement, especially if my entry candle is so far away from my SAR zones. So, but right now where EU currently is, you can see we have a double SAR on the 4 hour. That's right there. We have a double SAR right here, which is where the entry was. If we go down to the 1 hour time frame, so this is the same logic. If you guys, right, feel free to use the 30-minute or 1 hour. I'm sorry, 30-minute or 15-minute. But for me, my entries, that's why you can see I've highlighted those zones. So on the 1 hour, my only double SARs are all the way up here. So you can see I don't have any trades for EU. I don't have any trades for gold. The only trade I have is for US 30. So at that point, my decision is then I take my US 30 trade. If I don't even have a trade for US 30, then I'll just call it a day, or I would go ahead and look for another instrument. But more than likely, I'll just call it a day. But that's ideally how I would be looking to analyze the markets.
Hey, bro.
Mhm.
I just wanted you to check something. I'm looking for an entry on Euro 30, and I was looking at on Pepperstone a double SAR on 45 minutes.
45 minutes, and you're looking for sales, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so since it's a high time frame, I go ahead and extend my lines.
And there is a
45 minutes. Okay. So for this particular one, since this is a break, this is the candle that broke it. This is the candle that continued. Of course, you would not, if you entered on impulse here, you would be in drawdown. So for you to take this, here,
I'm waiting for this one.
yeah, so for here, it would be the same logic. So it would be on the 5 minutes. So this is valid, right? Because you had a break and closure below, but you didn't want to enter here on impulse, right? Which even for me, I would not, because for me to enter on impulse there, and for me to have a 1:2, that's a 80 pip stop, ideally like roughly 80 pip stop and 160 pips TP. And you can see I would be in drawdown. So, right, ideally what you're saying, wait for that retest right there on the 45-minute. So same thing right here. I would be right now. The entry is valid. So it's either you decide, do you want to enter on impulse? I do not recommend that. So I recommend coming down to the 5 minute, doing the same thing. Since this is on the 5 minute, if you extend lines on the 5 minute, your chart is just going to be messed up. So just reduce that, and let's see. Yesterday you gave us a sell entry on US 30. So let's see. So here we are waiting for the same thing that's happening here. So it's ideally the same analysis I've done on the 15-minute. So we are waiting for this to happen. We are waiting for a sell SAR to be printed on the 5 minute, and then we need 2 5-minute candles to close below that. But yeah, so unless you want to go down to the 1 minute, I'm pretty sure even the 3 minute, there's probably a sell SAR entry. You can see on the 3 minute, you can see we have a sell SAR, but we don't have 2 candles closing. If you want to go on the 1 minute, we probably, even on the 1 minute, we don't even have a valid sell SAR. You can see here, on the 1 minute, every time is just 1 candle closure. So keep in mind, we're looking for 2. So we can observe it on the 1 minute and see if we get anything, but keep in mind, I recommend to use the 5 minute, but we'll just leave this on the 1 minute, because we know that if we get a sell SAR on the 1 minute, that might mean that price is starting to come back to the downside.
Yeah. And I was targeting, there is triple equal lows down there at,
Here on the hourly.
Yeah. There is high probability that price will come and and sweep all the liquidity that is down there.
Yep. And yeah, you're right. We have equal lows right here, but overall, the trend is still bearish
Yeah.
right there, or this way, because I don't like crossing candles. Yep. So ideally, right now for US 30, price is squeezing. But for me, I don't see any red flag on sales for US 30, right? Until we get what we just got on gold today, right? That or gold yesterday. So okay, right. So this is how I love the SARs. They, think of them like as a traffic light. It's giving you a warning that, oh, you see like how you be driving and you see road work ahead. You see, I sent this buy SAR yesterday to you guys on in the Discord and told you guys, hey, gold is telling you that you might want to start wrapping up on the sells, right? So same thing. I know there are some of you who use EAs in here, and I told you like this whole time, if I was using an EA, I would have been sells only. So this, like yesterday when I sent this, it might have been a time for you to think, okay, I've already, because if you sold only gold here, and this was for a whole month, July 23 to August 23rd. And I've noticed that these SARs like go for like a month or something, because even the last one, if I'm not wrong, July 23 to, wait, this is on the daily. I'm sorry, wait, 3rd July to July 27th. So they go for about 3 to 4 weeks on average, like this switch of SARs. But anyway, right here, if you're still, for example, for you guys who use bots to trade, when I sent this yesterday and I said gold has given us a possible buy, and keep in mind, right, I sent it immediately, it was formed. It might have been a chance for you guys to be like, okay, I'm done. At the very least, just say, I'm done trading using the bot for now until I see what gold will decide on this buy SAR. So you could have saved yourself drawdown right here if you're trading using bots, and then just said, I'm not trading today. I'm going to wait and see if this daily closes above there. And looks like this daily is going to close above this buy SAR. And at that point, you turn on your bot again and you just do buys only for gold. And right, it's as simple as that. But let's see if we get this entry. So you see what's happening, Desire? So there, on the 1 minute, we are getting that. So keep in mind, I am not in this trade yet. I'm still in my original. So keep in mind, I'm in a US 30 sell, but I'm still in drawdown. So my entry is somewhere here, right? But I'd mentioned that's not an official trade. It's just a trade that entered after. But this is the official trade I'm looking for you guys. Now, we want this on the 5 minute. If you want to enter on the 1 minute, sure, right? Feel free. But even if you want to enter on the 1 minute, we need this candle to close below this SAR. If this candle comes up and closes above the SAR, the entry is invalid. So it's just a preference for me to, at the very least, enter on the 5 minute. Not to say you can't use the 1 minute, not to say you can't use the 3 minute. You can, but always make sure that you've back tested that. And also here, if you look, as much as it's not the chart that I draw my trend lines at, you can see here that we are rejecting from this trend line, this hourly trend line to the downside. Now, so in the next, if you trade 1 minute candles, so for me, I'm already in a sell, so I really don't want to jump into this. So, but for me, what this is telling me is that since for me, I want to wait on the 5 minute. Now here we will go to the 3 minute. We will probably, now there goes your entry if you trade 1 minute candles. If you trade 1 minute candles, this is a valid sell for US 30 currently. Now for me, I'm already in another sell on US 30. That's not this, but if you trade 1 minute candles, or if you want to enter this trade early, the sell is there. 50 pips, I would say 50 pips stop. And this is good because it would be above your the SAR you're trading, and then it would be above the previous high. Now, if you want a tight stop trade, let your stop loss be above the SAR you're trading, and this will allow you to have like a 20 pip stop on US 30, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 20 pip stop and 40 pip TP. So just do the math, what works for you, right? So so if you're trading the 1 minute candle, that can be a setup for you. But for me, I am waiting for this. Now, since I've seen this has been validated on the 1 minute, and for me personally, I'm waiting for the entry. on the 5 minute, and that's the entry I'll give to you guys. I know that in the 3 minute, we are probably forming an SAR, a sell SAR soon. If we do not, I will wait for the break and closure below here. And if I'm waiting on the 5 minute, if we didn't have a sell SAR on the 3 minute, we probably do not on the 5 minute, but you can see on the 5 minute, there it goes. So it just formed the sell SAR on the 5 minute. So for me to trade this on the 5 minutes, keep in mind, I have to wait for the same thing that just happened here on the 1 minute. So, right, so I'm not in this trade. So if you guys entered, right, well and good, even though it hits TP, I'm not gonna count it as a winning trade because I did not take it, or I did not tell you guys to take it. But if you did, and you're using like a 20 pip stop, make sure that if you achieve a 1:1 risk to reward, go ahead and set break even. Keep in mind, these are 1 minute candles that move really fast. So if your trade gets here, if you're like 20 pips in profit, so let me just draw the line for you guys right there. So if your trade gets here, if you are in this trade, if your trade gets there, go ahead and set break even. So either way, right, I didn't enter this trade, but I'm in another sell on US30. So right, I did tell you guys I'm in drawdown. So my sell is somewhere right below here. So I think my sell is here. So personally, my sell is, I don't know, what's 50 pips from here? I think I have an 80 pip stop for this trade. So compared to what you guys, if you entered on the 1 minute, the bigger trade, that's the sell I'm in personally, right? So even for me, I'm still in drawdown. The trade is just coming back to break even for me. So there's no need for me to jump into another trade for now, because that's another reason why I'm not in. So, but it is a valid trade if you're trading on the 1 minute. So one reason I'm not in it is because I was already in a sell that was in drawdown. So yeah, but if we do get it on the 5 minutes, that will be a better confirmation for me. Desire, are you getting in on the 1 minute or 5 minutes?
No. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for maybe if in 45 minutes is finished or the 5 minute.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I used to, when I first started trading US30, I used to trade the 1 minute candles, and it was just crazy, man. It was,
Yeah.
I haven't
I
traded.
used to trade also 1 minute on DAX, and it was so intense, so stressful. So yeah, so I just stopped.
Yeah, you cannot look away from you unless you just have like a lot of discipline, like 1 minute. This is the reason why I mark these things up for you guys on the 1 hour, because on the 1 hour, 1 hour and 4 hour, like look at this, you wouldn't be stressed entering this because you can see this long wicks and you know it took like 3 hours to form this. So, but let's say I didn't have a bearish bias on the hourly or 4 hour, I would be honestly with you guys, if I was just forming and buying and selling randomly, I would be so stressed in this trade if I was in it, if I didn't have like this hourly outlook or this 4 hour outlook. So as much as maybe some of you might not use the SARs or whatnot, it is helpful to look at the higher time frames if you're entering trades, of course, on the lower time frame. So if you're entering trades on the 1 minute, on the 3 minute, make sure you look at what's happening on the higher time frame. And also I would recommend use higher time frames to set your stop loss, because that way, if you come back to the higher time frame, you'll see price more clearer. Yeah, so let's see what's happening on the 5. So on the 5, it set it all the way down here, so nothing yet. So we'll see if that validates anything. Oh, here's another trade I wanted to show you guys. GBP NZD. So this is the US30 trade, swing trade I sent a while back. This trade right here, you see GBP NZD on the daily time frame. Now, one thing I like about this trade, this is the reversal indicator, right? It's forming a sell together with a daily SAR, and keep in mind this is the daily. It's forming a sell, the same candle the sell is giving is closing below a daily SAR. So this actually could be a swing trade for, let's see how many pips this is. So this is, I hate when this is in thousands. I think this is 350 pips, if I'm not wrong, because is it? Yeah, this is 350 pips. If you want, so you'd be going for 700 pips TP. This, if this daily closes either with a sell signal or closes below this, this will be a sell, a swing sell for GBP NZD. 350 pips stop loss, 700 pips TP. So this is one. I'll send it to the, the only thing, right? This whole time, every minor trade I've sent, or not every, I know I haven't sent a lot, but trades that I've sent in the minor channel, Forex miners, everything has hit stop loss, man. So let's hope that this is the one. Also, what do you guys consider minor pairs and major pairs? If I remember correctly, like if you use, because for me I use baby pips to learn how to trade, I think major pairs have like a USD, should be tied with a USD pair, right? Major pairs.
Even a GBP.
So like GBP and ZD, is it a minor pair or is it a major pair?
It's a major pair because there is GBP.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
not only tied to the US dollar. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, for example, I think that like GBP, no, NZD, GPY
Is a minor.
minor. IUD.
Also, anything that's not tied to a major pair. Oh,
Yeah.
so because the majors are US dollar, GBP, Euro.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, it's been like 3 years since I learned that, and I didn't to be honest, I didn't finish that course. Okay, so if this is a major pair, thanks for that. I've always thought that major pairs are only the ones that have whatever attached. US30 is pumping down. That's good. Now, keep in mind, gold can definitely fall from here. So the reason right, this is the reason of having the daily bias. See what happened here, right? So gold can do the same thing. That was just a by the way. See what US30 did here? So even at this moment, and this was before no, this was in and around when we deployed the SAR strategy. So US30 at some point was above. Of course, it wasn't heavily above its buy SAR, but you see what happened with this candle right here? Was a bullish candle at the daily at some point, not as bullish as what gold is doing right now, but closed heavily as a bearish candle. So this is the reason I'm telling you guys, right? Like even for me personally, I am not, right? I've already made my money this whole time with gold. Right, losing a day or two not trading gold is not going to kill me. But right, for me to continue this bias, so this is what I'm saying, it can still sell off. It can still do this. So what I would want to see for continuation of bearishness with gold is a bearish candle like this. I just realized I forgot to mention that. So same thing that happened here with US30. Formed a buy SAR, of course, wasn't as bullish above that buy SAR as gold is currently doing, but you can see that heavy rejection. So if gold is to continue selling, this is the point sellers need between now and 5 p.m. today, in the next 6.5 hours, sellers need to step in heavily and form and cause this to be a bearish candle. If they do not, gold for the rest of the year should be, and you can see here, we also have the same thing, daily outlook. right here. I need to do the same thing I did here for US30, where I back tested for the last 10 years and I so here's and you guys can do this, right? Because if you guys rely on me to do this, to be honest with you, like I am lazy. Like I just do this if it's convenient, if the stars align. But if you're back testing like me, apply the reversal indicator on the daily time frame. That's step one. Then for gold, of course, actually on the daily time, even an FX pair, just use breakout pips 50, use the delay as 0. Because this is a daily time frame, you're not looking for 2 candle closures. So use delay as 0, breakout pips 50, EMA 9, and sources close, and then have both buys and sells. Then break the chart down into years. So you can see every year has a different color here. So that's step number 2 or 3 or whatnot. Then what you're looking for, draw this zigzags, right? So from a buy to a sell, or from a high, from a low area to a high, right? That's going to form those zigzags. Then after those zigzags are formed, identify the high of the year, identify the low of the year. Then the next thing you'll do, if your high of the year, divide the amount of months between the high and low of the year by 2. What that will give you is this mid-range. Then what this is telling you is that during this time in 2025, 2021, 2015, 2016, gold, you like right now, if you ask me, and this is the reason why we had this nice sell on US30 here. If you ask me for the last 7 years, I think this, I really haven't gone to 10. So I think for the last 7 or 6 years, every year, US30 falls between the months of July or August. Now, I know that's a big, right? That's a big range, because how will you know during what week or what day it falls? That's a good question, right? So if it falls between June and July, the major thing that has stood out is that there has been a sell signal in between those 3 months. So here we can see in August, we had that sell signal, and that's why I sent out that sell on US30. We do the same thing here, mid-range, May and June. Last year was May and June. It didn't go all the way to August. If we go May and June here, there's that sell signal in June, and it sold heavily. And keeping, so if you ask me, like, for example, US30, like right now, I can't answer the question for gold because I haven't done it. But if you ask me for US, I'm sorry.
So sorry to interrupt you. Just to me, I just got in on the 45 minutes, as I told you.
Mm-hmm.
It closed perfectly. I don't know if you want to take.
You know what, I'll tell you, personally, I'll tell you, I trust, if there's anybody I trust with the SARs is Desire. This guy is killing it. So I will enter the trade.
No, you can check before.
No, your mind. No, I mean, I'm bearish on US30. It is what it is. So if you, for the 5 minutes, this is the best entry down here. But I mean, I just got in right now. I'm risking. For you guys, I'll just wait for the 2 candle closures. For me, I just entered using Desire as a signal. Now for you, for the trade I'll send you guys, I'm waiting for 2 candle closures below 34,359 on the 5 minute, because we've already gotten that sell SAR. But if you want to be in on it, in on the action with me and Desire, if you're going to enter, I just entered right now. If you're going to enter, use a 0.25% risk. And then once you get those 2 candle closures, in all honesty, personally, I am in with a 0.5% risk, meaning I'm looking to make, wait, what the, wait, wait, give me 1 second. There's something that closed for me. I always mess, I mean, I made 200, but wait, give me 1 second right now. What did I do? I mean, I made money, but I had like a 10 pip. Oh, I always forget this is in thousands. 10, give me 1 second right here. 10, 1, 2, 3. I did the same mistake yesterday and I lost 500 in a trade, but this time I actually made profit. So no, I'm going to wait for retracement. So I entered here. I had my trade manager set in the hundreds or something. So it hit TP for 10 pips. Instead, my TP was supposed to be 100 pips. If it retraces, I will go ahead and enter. Let me make sure this is set up right, because yes, that should be. Is it just me, or because I thought for you guys who use the Forex Trade Manager, like for US 30, right now it looks, if your stop loss is 50 pips, 362. Wait, give me 1 second. Oh wait, I know. Okay, my bad. I know what I did. Okay, I'm good now. I'll wait for that retracement. So I got kicked out of the trade, but I made $200 on it. So I'm still out of the trade, but I'm still now in this original trade I was. Now for you guys, the official trade, we are waiting for 2 5-minute candles to close below here. That's the point that I will go in with another 0.5% risk, and maybe might end up making 2% today. But that's the official trade right there. I know Desire is already in. I don't know if anybody else entered. The entry was somewhere around here. You should be like 70, 50. You should be like 20 pips in profit. And there goes US 30. Man, see, Desire, I told you, I always trust you, man. I trust you with this SARs. Even though I don't trade the 45-minute or the 15-minute, look at, yeah. So I'm still in the action with my original trade. So, you know, I didn't lose out with much. Anyway, let's go back to this. So keep it right. If a trade is valid, you shouldn't really worry too much about it. So, right. So here with US 30, if you ask me, I'll give you that analysis like every year between June to August, we normally have a drop for US 30, and keep in mind, August and September are also one of the worst months in the stock market. And you can clearly see why. So how you know when to enter is that every time, if you go ahead and backtest this mid-range, the reversal indicator has given you a sell entry that gives you a nice confluence to enter a sell. I think only 1 year, and I think this was 2020, when the sell, or maybe this instance, it was, I don't know if it was a sell. Yeah, when the sell, when is the mid-range? July 2020. Yeah, when the sell didn't really go far down. And keep in mind, 2020 is an anomaly because of COVID. So you can see as much as it gave a sell. So keep in mind, once US 30 prints this sell, during those months, US 30 drops for about 1,000 to 1,500 pips. So that is your threshold. And after that, when US 30 recovers and gives a buy, so for example, right now, so you can see here for the month of, for 2020, the threshold was Friday, 24th July. That's when you would have sold, but US 30 only dropped 26,400 for about 500 pips. So it didn't drop for the average 1,000 to 1,500 pips. It would have, like in other years, but 2020 is an anomaly. But the other years, like let's do this last one, June 2019. So June mid-range was June 2019. So as much as that's the mid-range month, your entry is based off of the sell you get from the reversal. So here you can see 27,127 dropped for 2,000 pips, and then afterwards recovered and ended the year with a yearly high, right? So an example right here for 2023, a good example is 2023, right? Because we are not backtesting something that has already happened. 2023, I identified the possible low of the year to be the last week of March 2023, because US 30 hasn't gone lower than that. So that's the possible last year or low of the year. Then for how I came up with the mid-range, how many months are between March and December? And again, I'm terrible at math, but I think it's 8 months, about 8 months. So if it's 8 months, divide that by 2, right? So that's 4. So 4 plus 3, January, February, March, 4 plus 3 is about 7. So between July and August 2023 is when I anticipated the mid-range for US 30. And then guess what? Between July, anytime between July and August, I was just waiting for a sell. And the sell came, and that's it. So right now, what I'm anticipating for US 30 is this. We're probably going to get a buy somewhere here. If we do get this buy, US 30 is ending the year, is now going to create a yearly high. That's what I anticipate to happen for US 30. So after we do get that buy, US 30 is going up and ending the year by creating a yearly high. Now, not to say that US 30 cannot just melt from here. So it can still melt from here and literally do this. And maybe this is the yearly high, right? This can possibly also be the yearly high. And it comes down here and closes the year down here, with this being the yearly low. So keep in mind, it's always a game of probabilities, but you want to have history by your side. So for me, I'm placing my bets that the month of March gave us the yearly low, and I'm hoping that that doesn't get broken, because if that gets broken, then it would mean that this was actually the yearly high, and then the yearly low would be ended. So if US 30 closes below the current yearly low, I will change my bias and assume that this is the yearly high of US 30. And then right here, I would continue selling US 30 to create the yearly low. So that's just the logic, if you want to get into my head, about how I backtest. So that's the same thing right here on gold. I haven't done it for the last 7-10 years, but I will be looking to do it. Okay. So what's happening now on the 5-minute? Where did that essay? Let me delete this real quick. Okay, so on the 5-minute, okay, perfect. So you see what happened here on the 5-minute? We had a candle closing below that SAR. So let me delete this. We already had a candle closing below that sell SAR. Now for the official trade, I need this candle, the current candle in 3.5 minutes, to close below the same sell SAR for me to enter. Now that will be an official trade that we will count. So whether we win, whether we lose, that's the trade I will count as being an official trade. So in the next 3 minutes, I need this entry, this 5-minute candle to close below. And now if you ask me, this is now when I go to the 4-hour time frame and see where my stop loss is. Because I'm trading, these are the two SARs I'm trading on the 4-hour, I want my stop loss to be above here. So that means on average, right, it's giving me a 50 pip stop. So that's good. That's good enough for me. So 50 pip stop and 100 pips TP. So that's what I am looking for right there. So the 4-hour allows me to see where my stop loss ideally should be. So let's just see if on the 5-minute we will get this trade right here. See, let me mark this up. So this should be 50 pips, stop loss, and 100 pips TP. If we get this trade, that will be the last trade, and I will be ending the live session. If we do not, if this 5-minute candle goes up and does not close below here, again, the trade will be invalid, and I will be waiting again for another 2 candles to close. So we are still looking for sells on US 30, but we always want to wait for those 5-minute candle closures. If you're in this trade with the 1 minute, I think you already hit TP, if I'm not wrong, if you entered on the 1 minute, or you could have been a break even. What was the 1 minute entry? Yeah. So if you're, this is the 1 minute entry right here. For anybody who entered on the 1 minute, I don't know if anybody did, but for the 1 minute, remember, if you've already achieved a 1:1, you go ahead and set break even. So if you entered this trade on the 1 minute, you could have gotten stopped out at break even if you're following our strategies. If you didn't set break even, you can see you would still be in the trade, but you could have gotten close to being stopped out. But right, since that is not the idea of how we trade, the 1 minute would ideally have been at break even. At this point, I'll even remove it. So the first trade is the only trade I was in this morning. Again, not an official trade. The official trade is this one. If this 5-minute candle in the next 1 minute, I do see it's a heavily bullish candle. In the next 1 minute, for me to enter this sell as an official trade, I need this 5-minute candle to end up closing below here. So based off of how price is, I don't see that happening with this candle. So if that doesn't happen, again, we are looking for the same thing again to happen. We're looking for, we can trade the same SAR right here. We don't have to wait for another one. We can trade the same SAR. So we just need 2 5-minute candles. So they might happen outside of this range. So keep in mind, if we want to extend it, We don't have to extend all the way to 500. You can extend to 10 so that it can be closer. So yeah, so you can see there, I just extended the SAR candle to 10. I extended it a little bit. So keep in mind, 5, the value in here represents the candles. So by default, it's 5 candles. If you want to extend it a little bit, this would mean the next 10 candles. Now, this means we are looking for the same thing to happen in the next 10 candles, and you can keep extending it to 5 or whatnot to 15. We want 2 5-minute SARs to close below this zone. Now, if that happens outside the, so keep in mind, I've told you guys that on the live session. If I am on the charts, I'll send it out in the group, but that will be an official trade that we will count. Okay, any last questions before we end the stream? Now, as much as the 1 minute could have gone to profit and ended up at break even, the importance of using the 5 minutes, right? So sometimes you can see how the 1 minute failed, right? Or I'm sorry, the 1 minute melted down, right? So you could have been, somebody can be like, you've only had taken the 1 minute, but look at this. If you're waiting on the 5 minute, the best thing with like the 5 minute, so always remember, the higher the time frame, so even though you're comparing 5 minute and 1 minute, the logic still stands. The higher the time frame, the better your strategy or this strategy will be respected. So somebody could have been like, okay, I missed the 1 minute entry. I could have been like, oh, I could have made 30 pips or whatnot. I mean, sure, but as much as we are waiting here for the 5 minute, this is a safe entry because you can see how now this area is acting as heavy, both support and resistance. So we know that this is a zone. This is a zone of interest right here. And we know that if we expect US 30 to be bearish, that if finally we get that confirmation on the 5 minute, our TP most likely will be hit almost instantaneously, because if US 30 closes here with volume, we should drop down heavily, probably going to take like 15 minutes or so before hitting our TP. So, right, always remember, the higher the time frame, so whether you're comparing 1 minute and 5 minute, whether you're comparing 30 minute and 1 hour, remember, the higher the time, you're not missing anything. Price is doing the same thing on the 5 minute as it's doing on the 1 minute. Sure, it might be going faster or having more liquidity on lower time frames, but it's literally doing the same thing. So you're not missing anything. Just identify, okay, I'm going to look for my daily bias on the daily time frame, on the 4 hour, on the 1 hour, maybe. Okay, I'm going to identify my double SARs on the 4 hour, on the hour, on the hourly time frame, maybe on the 30 minute, maybe on the 15 minute. Okay, then I'm either going to enter on the closure of those daily SARs or hourly SARs, or if price is so far away from me, I'm going to go down to the 1 minute, maybe I'm going to go down to the 5 minute. So price should be ideally doing the same thing overall. But here, I'll just call it a day for now. I am still in this original trade. So this is the only trade I'm in today. I missed that nice sell, but it came during a time when I was asleep. So it is what it is. But now I'm in this first sell, not an official trade, but just a personal trade. The official sell will be if we get 2 5-minute candles closing below here. Let me go back to my Oanda chart. Any final questions before we call it a day? Let's see right here. So in Oanda, same thing, right? If you use the Oanda chart like me, I'm looking for that, right? 2 5-minute candles closing below this zone. And you can see on the hourly time frame, this is what I also like to see, this trend line getting respected by US 30 can easily pump up here. If it pumps up here for us, personally, I'll be, of course, hit stop loss, but for you guys, if you're still waiting on this 5 minute, you won't have hit any loss for the day and you'll just be at 0 for the day. So that's the importance of just waiting for confluences to happen. So in the meantime here, yesterday we didn't have any trade taken. Oh, yesterday we had a win thanks to Desire. Today we'll see. Hopefully we get a trade and we make a nice 1% and be up like 4.5% this month. If not, then we'll just have like X, meaning no trade. But personally, of course, I'll have like a loss if that happens. All right. If there are no other questions, I will talk to you guys later. If this trade does come up later today, I will send it in the Discord. If not, then hopefully you guys either ended up the day at break even if you entered on the 1 minute, or maybe hopefully let's see what's happening to gold. Gold here. So for me on gold, I'm still bearish on gold for the next 6 hours, right? So this candle right here, if it closes above, that's the only time I change my bias. So here on the hourly, I don't trade single SARs, but you can see the rejection. So you can trade them. So not to say you cannot, you can trade single SARs, not a problem. But for me, my entries, my sell would be either at 1913 on gold on the hourly. On the 4 hour, we already established that by the time this trade is validating, the daily bias would have changed probably to bullish. So I'm not going to go down on lower timeframes because I don't want to force myself to see a trade knowing that we have buys coming in for gold. So for gold, I already made my money during that whole month. So I'm not really going to risk anything just to make some extra hundreds the last 4 hours of a daily bearish bias. All right, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. All right, bye guys.